editing a video right now from yesterday, and had to take a break because Carl makes an appearance. And Carl is a brilliant mind, of course, a doctor and a philosopher, and I'm not. So sometimes it's hard to articulate what Carl needs to say or what he's trying to say. It takes some work. He's got kind of flowery language, and it's hard to deliver that sometimes. Now I know you might be thinking, well, why don't you just not have a minute? And yeah, I'd like to not have a minute. I'd like to have none of the boys in it, and it'd just be me, because it'd be better, because the less distraction. But that's not how things are. Hey, brother, how you doing, man? Have a good day. And you're thinking, also, what the fuck are you talking about? And to that, I would say, I don't know. So, I'm still up to 7-0. I have kind of moved on from it. I don't know if we're good. You can never tell with these things. But I got through a few crucial periods. One being like having money in my pocket to get them and deciding not to, even though I could have. Now, the way I did this is I had the money that I could spend, that I could have possibly spent on the O's, and I immediately went and spent it to get rid of it, to leave myself with no money for the O's. Because everything's so expensive here in Hawaii. We have a very delicate kind of dance going on with the finances, where just going too far in one direction will fuck the whole thing up. I mean, you see me probably buying a lot of stupid plastic shit, but that's not like big money. I never drop like big money on that stuff. It's rarely that I do. But there is a budget for, fuck around. There's fuck around money. Like, alright, you can spend this just going around doing whatever you're doing, whether it's stopping in to get a coffee or a snack somewhere, whatever. We typically have this amount to play with. So for that day, the money I had to play with, and I thought about it. I'm like, dude, just going there and buying them, you instantly feel good, right? Or that's what the thought is. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes, like, that used to happen with, like, street drugs, too, I would take. Sometimes, if I wasn't in the right headspace, it wouldn't hit me right. So, yeah, so sometimes it doesn't, but in my mind, it's telling me, oh, you just stop here, you get paid. But I'd been off them for a couple days, and I was like, just fucking get rid of the money. So that's what I did. I got rid of the money. And that's kind of what I had to do. Years ago, when I was having it was like a fucking multi-year addiction. When I'd gotten really bad with the drugs and drinking and stuff, the partying days, when I was in the band, that I pretty much had to kind of leave music. I always say, like, I left the band to quit. The band was breaking up anyway, but I didn't restart a new band or jump into a new project. But for conversation's sake, I just say I left the band, I left music, really, at that point. So, I had to leave music, and then any income I was making, instead of going down to the city or hooking up with my friends, my drug friends, I would immediately go to the Comical Palace and see Glenn. Comic Palace has their own YouTube channel. Glenn is a minor celebrity in comic book circles for a couple of viral rants he did. If you're part of the online comic sphere, like as a watcher or something of shows and stuff, you probably know who he is. Great guy. I'd run down to his store when I'd get paid and just blow it all. And the way I made myself lock into that was, most comic stores have a subscription service. I don't mean to bore you with the shit, because, you know, it's going somewhere. Most comic stores have a subscription service where you tell them what you want them to order. You know, I've owned comic stores in the past, and a lot of our business, and especially with our ordering, relied on the subscribers. What you're basically doing is you're telling the store what you buy every month, and then that way we know you're coming in to buy these titles, so we set them aside for you. So what I did was, I saw the money I had to play with, right? And I just subscribed to almost every major Marvel and DC comic that was being printed at the time. I remember it was the time of the New 52 limited series, when it was just a limited series that went for 52 weeks, or a year series, or what the fuck it was. I remember getting that first issue of the New 52 from Glenn around that time, and I just got everything. So I made a commitment. Excuse me, I had to light my keep away stick. I made a commitment to have to come in here, you know, every week, or whatever it was. I'd usually be there every week. Sometimes I'd extra days to pop in and just to hang out, because I like talking to Glenn. He's a cool guy. But yeah, so I'd made a commitment to do that, so I knew that's where the money had to go. And that kept me from, you know, running down to the city or getting in trouble. And it worked. It worked, you know. I didn't go back to that stuff at all, to the partying, to anything. So, I mean, comics and the comic book hut and Glenn, it kind of helped me a lot. You know, it got me out of doing drugs and partying and shit. So it was awesome. Some years after that, I would fall into the opioid trap, getting some dental surgery done. I had been through this before, and I had done, and I'd gotten pain medication for like a root canal. So this was the same thing. Basically, I had a tooth that had to be removed, and another one was cracked. It was all fucked up. And I got painkillers like I normally do. Back then, they're just no problem. They just rate you for Percocet. That's what the doctor gave me. And I had to go back because I got something called dry socket, which means basically when you get a tooth pulled out, the socket that it's in doesn't stay wet enough, and it creates a very painful thing called dry socket. And then that has to be treated before you can do anything else, like you know, whatever you're doing. So it extended my use of the painkillers to almost 2 weeks, right? So I'm on these things for 2 weeks, and at first you don't think anything of it, but after a couple of days you're looking forward to waking up and taking them. Like, oh wow, okay. Oh, this is good, you know, I like this. And that's all it takes. And then next thing I know, I started looking for them, and you know, drug-seeking behavior and all that stuff, and I was hooked. It took like, I don't know, 5 years of my life doing that, chasing around blue Percocets. That was the one I was always looking for, the blue 30 megs. I would take anything else that was opioid-esque as well, if those weren't available. But I did the whole thing. You know, I don't know what I should say. There's a name for it, where you go to like one doctor and then another and then another. I was doing it in the time civil engineer. That's what I used to do. I wasn't trusted to run the gun though. When I started doing it, it wasn't a thing. It wasn't like this thing that you see in the news, like as far as the opioid crisis. That wasn't happening. So people would just, you go in with the fucking sprained ankle, or I had it made because I was having teeth surgery, so I had the best excuse, because teeth stuff is real painful. So I'd just go into, a doctor like, hey man, I'm having this done. They could see that there was something going on. And yeah, they didn't even think twice. They had patients to see that day. So they just like wrote you and threw you out the door, So it was awesome. You can't do that now because of people like me. I made it worse for people, especially those that are really in pain. To get the shit, you fucking break your leg now to give you Tylenol because of assholes like me. So here comes another Elon Musk truck. I see a lot of these around here. It's so weird. It doesn't look like a truck to me. It looks like a fucking car. But what do I know? But yeah, so I mean, it sucked. It was a bad period, to go through. Kratom brought me out of that. Took a couple tries because, of course, Kratom doesn't get you. It gives you a nice buzz, but it doesn't get you like high. And a lot of drug addiction is mental addiction. If you hang out with the same people and you're around the same place, it'll tether you to that addiction like you wouldn't believe. Like moving here to Hawaii helped a lot because I didn't have any of the triggers, like any of the places or any of the people that would, make me think about using, I noticed that. Notice the shift in the people too that do those, like the religious little handout things. They're the kind of people change. Used to be all Islanders, and now it's all people from Philly. They got that area covered too, I guess. So that's what happened with that whole thing. And when they came here, it was easier to stay up, and I never went back to the perk thing. But this fucking shit here, the 7-0 stuff, feels a lot fucking like it, man. It feels a lot like it. And so much so that it got me like doing and thinking things that I hadn't done since then, like behaviors. I mentioned before, like, I started playing an old game that I used to play when I was, doing that stuff. I went back to doing that. And just a couple other things, like the behaviors, kind of became similar to when I used to do it. It's weird, because it feels just like it. And it puts me back in that mind space. But, yeah, so a minor triumph, I'm staying off them as of right now, It really is, with addiction shit, it is that one day at a time meme. You really gotta look at it like that. And, it was a minor hiccup. It was a minor hiccup in the road. Recovery goes on forever. It never ends. Always an alcoholic, once an alcoholic. That's why I'm still, a transvestite. Not practicing, but, once a transvestite, you're always a fucking transvestite, That's how that gimmick works. All right, I'm off to 333. Off the 333 line. Thanks for dropping in. And if you're struggling with 3-0 yourself, share. Let us know what your situation is. Until next time, don't blame the teacher. Blame the school.